Roy Keane has been right about Manchester United problems all along. We just weren't ready to listen.
Shocking. I am disgusted with it. Maguire, De Gea, you should hang your heads in shame. Representing Man United and letting people run past you. Get close to people. And again, I'm fed up with this chat after games and people apologising. Harry Maguire talking about, we need to come together as a group. No, you need to sort your game out. If you're going to be the leader of that group, you need to get the basics right. Do your own job. What's a derby game? You physically, shattered. You shouldn't be able to get out of bed for a week after a tough game. And they're all walking off. There's not one yellow card. The players start doubting this system, and we saw the goals are given up today where some are going, some aren't, some are pressing. He's making loads of changes. He's chopping it back with the Maguire at the back. He's bringing Casemiro, and it's like they're going around in circles, this United group. And if the players have lost faith in what the manager's saying, because usually what you want, you're sitting in the dressing room, when the manager says something, you're like, yeah, I'm all in. But if some of the players are now starting to doubt that, I'm not saying they are, but I watched Forest the other night. I was kicking my cups of tea over. I was watching it, all I hear was they're neat and tidy, but they were never going to score. Never going to score. No goals again today. Part of playing for Man, you're going to go back to responsibility for when you're playing for a big club and you're getting all this, the big contracts and all the reward. Is a responsibility to win football matches. Ultimately, is that what we're here for? I'm getting fed up with this. But have you seen signs of what? Signs of getting the odd draw? Criticising the system? I don't think so. And we also know every team that Pep's manager, he tries to overload the midfield, he tries outnumbers or whatever the system might be. I think they're just United are an average team, an average Premier League team. The stats will tell you that, and I'm going back to last season as well. So again, we're sitting here, United's record as well against any of the top 6 teams or whatever is really, really poor. They can't seem to compete. They'll have maybe a good 45 minutes or a good hour, but they just don't have that desire and fight to stay in the fight. I give up. I give up on these players. De Gea, right in half time, I give up. Maguire and Shaw last week, they were a disgrace, an absolute disgrace to the club. And these are established international footballers. You have to show some sort of emotion in the game. Go and close somebody down. I've often had it where I've not been at the races in the game, but I go, do you know what I might do is I might smash into somebody.
For over a decade, he has been screaming the truth from the rooftops. They called him a traitor, a prima donna, an ego out of control. But what if the man Manchester United threw out was the only one brave enough to tell them the truth? What if the anger that defined his post-playing career was not a sign of bitterness, but an act of brutal, unvarnished honesty? For over a decade, one man has been screaming the truth from the rooftops. When the world saw a temporary dip in form, he saw the rot. When others saw superstars, he saw imposters.
There's obviously issues. Talk about the system, but the manager's come in, he's sticking to his guns, he's not budging. But the results, and we look at the points per game and the goals for, goals against, excuses, but at some stage you go, well, when are we going to see the signs? Now people say give manager time, and of course. It's in class, quality, decision making, everything. It was, I know the old saying, it was men v boys, but United are so off it, it's unbelievable. I've seen the interviews, he's saying, I've come to win big trophies. Well, do it against Man City at home in the League Cup. It's no good. It's all rubbish. All that kind of nonsense that coming up from players and from Team Rashford and Maguire. We'd Fernandes a few weeks ago when he missed a penalty at Aston Villa. Just get on with the game and turn up and give everything you have for the club. And I've been there as a coach and a manager, and you're looking at players when you don't know what you're going to get. These players are no good to you. You don't know what we're going to get with Manchester United. That's not if you're a small club. But Man United, you're hoping, fellas, the staff smiling, hugging, the players chatting with each other. Just get down the tunnel and cut that. I don't get it. Everyone wants to be pals with each other. It's like, I apologise to the fans. Like no emotion behind it. The guy, and these guys are on the back of good European championships for England, so they've turned up before for big matches, but recently, and Shaw's fallen back into his old habits from a few years ago.
He warned us of a cultural decay that was poisoning a great club. He is Roy Keane, and he's been right about Manchester United all along. We just weren't ready to listen. To understand the prophet, you must first understand the man. Roy Keane's truth-telling didn't begin on a TV studio set. It was forged on the training pitches and in the dressing rooms of the club he captained for 8 years. He was the on-field embodiment of Manchester United's relentless winning DNA. His standards were impossibly high. For him, anything less than perfection was a failure. He was the fire that fueled the dynasty, the voice of the manager in the heart of the battle, and the first to call out a lack of effort. Even at the peak of his power, as captain of the greatest team in the country, Keane was fighting against a creeping complacency. His infamous prawn sandwich brigade comment wasn't just a throwaway line. It was a preemptive strike, a warning about a new, entitled fan culture, a symptom of a larger disease beginning to infect the club. He was telling us that the very standards that made United great were slipping, but we dismissed it as typical Keane arrogance. We didn't want to hear that the problem lay with us, or with the very culture we were building. We wanted to believe the glory would last forever, but he knew that without the hunger, without the fight, it was only a matter of time before it all came crashing down. After he left the club, his voice became a fire alarm for the world. His critiques were no longer confined to the dressing room. They were broadcast to millions on a weekly basis, a fiery sermon on the state of his beloved club. As Manchester United began its post-Ferguson slump, Keane was the first and most relentless voice to call out the fundamental issues. He sat in the studio, a figure of increasing frustration, watching the team he bled for become a shadow of its former self. While the club tried to patch the holes with a revolving door of managers and big-money signings, Keane was identifying the core problem, the players themselves. He called them out for a lack of desire, a soft mentality, and a complete absence of leadership. He saw a squad full of individuals, not a team. He saw players who were too comfortable, more interested in social media and flashy lifestyles than in winning trophies. He asked a simple, yet devastating question that became a mantra for all who watched the club's decline. What is this group of players good at? The answer, as he saw it, was not a lot. He spoke of players who hid on the pitch, who didn't take responsibility, and who didn't understand the privilege of wearing the Manchester United shirt. He saw the rot in their weak tackles, their passive defending, and their inability to overcome adversity. As the years of failure mounted, his focus broadened from the players to the entire club. He wasn't just questioning the personnel, he was questioning the culture and the very structure of the organization, a criticism that would later be echoed by the likes of Mourinho and Ronaldo. He was among the first to point out the glaring lack of a proper footballing structure behind the scenes, a problem that would persist for years as the club struggled to find a director of football with genuine power and a coherent long-term strategy. He criticized the club for paying huge wages to players who didn't perform, creating a toxic environment where mediocrity was not only tolerated but rewarded. He spoke of a club that had lost its identity, its ruthlessness, and its soul. He famously stated that what he saw today was chalk and cheese to the club he once played for, a sentiment that resonated with fans who remembered the glory days. His most damning critique, however, was reserved for the ownership. He saw through the narrative of a football club and identified it as a marketing business. The current ownership, a combination of the Glazer family and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, continues to be a central point of contention. While Ratcliffe has taken control of football operations and invested in infrastructure, the Glazer family remains the majority owner, and the club continues to be burdened by a staggering amount of debt. This debt, which now exceeds £1 billion, is a direct result of the leveraged buyout in 2005. It's a financial burden that has drained the club of vital funds for nearly 2 decades, money that could have been used to rebuild the stadium or invest in the team. This is precisely what Keane was warning about, a club run by people who care more about their business interests than about on-field success. His frustration with the current manager, Ruben Amorim, and the team's ongoing struggles have been a constant theme. He questions the players' fight, their discipline, and their passion. He sees the same mistakes being made under a new coach and points to the familiar lack of leadership. He is on record asking why a club with such a rich history and immense financial power is making the same basic errors, and why the good people he knew from his playing days seem to have been replaced by a business-first mentality. He has openly questioned the new leadership, asking why it's a public spectacle and whether the right footballing decisions are truly being made. The true vindication came when others began to echo his sentiments. The imposters he spoke of were the same ones Ronaldo later called out. The lack of a football structure, he lamented, was the same issue Louis van Gaal identified as a commercial club. The media, the fans, and even the ex-players who once criticized his bluntness were now using his exact words. He never softened his stance. He was the one who called out the soft players, the weak performances, and the disgraceful effort. He was the one who said the club was average at everything, and now, the league table, the results, and the on-field performances prove him right. He never apologized for his passion, his anger, or his truth. So, as we watch the continued struggles at Old Trafford, we hear a familiar voice. A voice of unyielding standards and brutal honesty. Roy Keane's words were a bitter pill to swallow for so many years. We called him miserable, angry, and out of touch. But now, it's clear he was simply ahead of his time. He saw the disease before it took hold, and he tried to warn us. The man who dedicated his life to demanding the best from Manchester United was right all along. And the silence that followed his warnings is now the deafening sound of a club that has fallen from grace. A club that has become exactly what its greatest captain feared it would be.